Hey girl, welcome back to Lunch Break, where we talk about trending topics during your lunch break. Now I have a question for you, okay? Do you guys want to see an example of a narcissist that simply cannot take accountability? Do you guys want an example of someone who has zero remorse for publicly ruining the lives of, I don't know, dozens of people? Well, I have just the thing for you this week. So last Wednesday, Ned Fulmer, who was a previous member of the Try Guys, you know, the guy that cheated on his wife with a publicly facing employee back in 2022? Yeah, him. He decided to make a comeback to social media by dropping a new podcast called Rock Bottom. Supposedly, the podcast is going to be him every single week interviewing people that have hit their rock bottom, and the first episode is going to feature his wife, Ariel. So before we get into the podcast, I wanted to recap all the things that happened in 2022, the whole cheating scandal, so we're all on the same page of the impact that this man has had, okay? Let's get to it. So like I said before, Ned is an ex-member of the group called the Try Guys. They were a huge show on BuzzFeed back in the 2010s, and then they branched out to their own YouTube channel with over 7 million subscribers back in 2018. It's really important to remember that through their decade-long career, Ned has always branded himself as the wife guy. Every single time you saw Ned on camera, he talks about how much he loves his wife.
My wife. My wife. My wife. My wife. My wife. My wife. My wife. My wife. My wife.
His whole purpose of the group was to serve as this vessel where millennial women could project their fantasy of a white picket fence, 0 student loans, doggo and coffee in hand love story, if you get what I'm saying. In 2022, a bunch of photos and videos of Ned cheating on his wife with a very public-facing employee kind of surfaced the internet. This employee was featured in a lot of their videos. She had her own show on their channel. She was always interacting with them. She was, in her own right, an influencer. His wife, Ariel, also had a very front-facing role for the Try Guys. She was in a lot of their videos. She had her own podcast. Ned and Ariel both had book releases. They went on tour together. They very much were a power couple that brought in a lot of bucks. So when the scandal eventually blew up, it kind of just wrecked everybody that was involved. Ariel not only had to lose her husband to cheating, but also her media career, the company she built. As for the Try Guys, they have talked a lot about this. Their company kind of got obliterated. The majority of their sponsorships no longer wanted to work with them. And again, because Ned cheated with an employee, this put their company in jeopardy because there's a lot of law stuff. I'm sure they settled for a lot of money inside of a court. Now fast forward to 2025, Ned said that he wanted to come back to social media via doing this Rock Bottom podcast, and it was Ariel's idea, supposedly, that she wanted to be featured as the first episode to kind of set the record straight and to perhaps move on from the scandal that happened 3 years ago. Just a really quick disclaimer, I will be mean. I will. You've been warned. Let's get into the podcast. Okay, so the podcast starts out with Ned by himself in this kitchen backdrop, and he's apologizing to the audience for betraying our trust. He talks about that he knows that he is wrong for framing himself as the wife guy, and him cheating on his wife is a huge breach and betrayal to the audience that has been supporting him throughout the years.
Hi, I'm Ned Fulmer. 3 years ago, I cheated on my wife with my producer. It became a massive public scandal that caused a lot of pain to a lot of people. I know that I represented myself as a kind of wife guy who talked about his relationship and put that out there for public consumption. And you, as a viewer, I know that I broke your trust.
And then he talks about how he hopes that he can atone himself with time and with this podcast of interviewing people at their rock bottom. Right off the bat, you guys, the acting in this video, horrendous. Okay, it's giving like the monologue, the video that you see right before you get on a roller coaster. Hey guys, it's me, Ned, and I cheated on my wife, and I'm going to need you to help me save my career by going on this spaceship. You guys know how there's like that Gen Z meme on TikTok of the performative man, the male manipulator? It's like those guys that has a Labubu chained onto them. They wear like a feminist graphic tee, and they have a matcha and a tote bag, and they have black nail polish on. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the millennial version of that. in its final form. Look at the white t-shirt he has on that he definitely got from the Father's Day sale at Kohl's. Look at the bright kitchen background behind him. Listen to the extreme performative vocal fry.
Hi. I'm Ned Fulmer.
Anyone who has seen any Try Guys video knows that Ned's voice is more like a white version of Urkel.
With the plan, we met with an architect. In the master bedroom, we've demolished it. Yeah, you are now higher on the list than Zach.
And now all of a sudden, he sounds like an e-boy with cat ears on TikTok. Honestly, the only thing that could have made this more like millennial performative is that if he like blamed it all on the fact that he was a Hufflepuff. Sorry. Anyways, after Ned's apology, then we move on to the actual podcast with Ariel. And they start the podcast by explaining the point of the podcast, which is to set the record straight. They start out by establishing what their relationship status is, which according to Ned, they are a spectrum of being together.
We are still friends. We have children together. We go on trips together. There's a spectrum of being together, not together. Everyone wants to know, like, are you guys still like an item? Are you guys still a couple? Like, no.
Now, Ned, you know damn well, what is spectrum of being together? We don't need more ammo for the fuckboys. It takes me back to like the summer of 2008 where like messy couples would change their relationship status to "it's complicated" on Facebook. And then they would like pretend that they were these tortured alpha male souls. They thought they were like Jack and Rose on the Titanic. Like, who are we kidding? Okay, just say that you got dumped and you see your kids once a week and you guys go to a carnival ever so often. Okay, just say that. Anyways, one of the most satisfying parts of this podcast is Ariel straight up saying that she does not forgive Ned.
People ask me, like, do you forgive Ned for what he did? And I mean, the answer is no, absolutely not. How can you forgive somebody for lying to you, for cheating on you?
So then after Ariel clocks Ned, okay, this is how he decides to respond.
It's hard to hear you saying like, no, I don't forgive you. But of course I get it. I mean, you're still, as much progress as we've had, you're still very angry.
What? This is something that I feel like he does throughout the whole podcast, and you guys will see, is that he likes to go into what I like to call like commentator mode. Like anytime Ariel presses him about anything, he's not acting like he's the person that put this pain upon Ariel, but more so like a friend or a therapist that's just there taking notes, you know? It's almost like Ned views Ariel ranting about anything like she's like the crackhead that is just yelling and ranting about random shit. And Ned is like the customer that's like, I don't know, just put the fries in the bag, yo. Ned and the Try Guys have always had a very female-dominated audience base, and it's very obvious to me that Ned is trying to salvage his career by pretending to be like a feminist ally. Hence the reason why every single thing that comes out of his mouth, the way he dresses, his demeanor, it's every single thing in the book that like a boy with a dangly earring and black nail polish would do. Not to be petty, but I just want to point out that the set that he has is as performative as he is, okay? Like, look at the books in the background, the way that it's set up, the ambient lighting. Okay, look at this woman's head flower pot. Honestly, instead of that woman's face being a flower pot, it should just be filled with free tampons, so that we all know that Ned is the ally that we all can segment. Then we move on to what I think is the most uncomfortable and hard to watch part of the podcast, and it's the part where they both recount when they knew the relationship was over. They recount like how the scandal happened through their own eyes. For Ariel, she found out about the scandal when a fan texted her a photo of Ned cheating, and she was in so much denial that she thought it was Ned's sister.
Somebody sent me a picture, and I like, it's like for some reason I didn't see what was actually there in the picture. I thought it was your sister. And I remember sending it to you and being like, what's your sister doing in New York?
But then the suspicions were still there, so when she flew out to New York for a work shoot that they were all there for, she confronted Ned in person, and she said that is when Ned's face kind of just dropped and she knew.
I looked over to you in the driver's seat and I was like, why was Grace in New York? Like, I didn't realize Grace was in New York. Why was she, referring to that picture that I had sent to you? And you looked over at me with this look on your face, and it was like the veil just fell. And then when I saw that, like, just wildly guilty look on your face, like you wanted to tell me something, and I didn't even let you say anything. I was like, turn this car around. How do you remember it happening?
I mean, you asked me a couple of different follow-up questions as I just sort of answered them. Once I, answered it in such a way that you knew exactly who it was and what had happened, then you were like, take me back to the airport.
Okay, hold up. I answered the follow-up questions in such a way that you were able to figure out who it was and what has happened. What? That is the most PR answer I could possibly think of. So if I'm understanding the line of events correctly, it seems like Ariel got texted this picture, was suspicious, sent it to Ned, and he either dodged the question or lied about it, and then she confronted him about it in person, and then he was also trying to dodge and lie about it, but through the way he was answering, she probably just figured it out. Which I'm willing to wager that the way that Ariel found out that he cheated, even though he continued to lie, was the vocal fry. That's his Pinocchio nose, okay? The more that Ned tried to lie, the deeper the vocal fry, Ariel could start to hear the ukulele playing in the background. Trisha Paytas's fridge was appearing behind him, okay? His nails started to turn black. He had a Hufflepuff feminist shirt on, and she just knew instantly from there. And then we get to this part that really pissed me the off, and it's Ariel pressing Ned a little bit more on like why he did what he did. And his answer is that he didn't think it was that bad until he saw Ariel's face in the car, where he finally just let it out that he cheated.
There was a lot of sort of delusions and rationalizations that you, as the person doing that, sort of are telling yourself as to why it's not so bad, or why it's going to be okay, or why actually this talked about it in this way. And then it's like, I remember that moment, it all just kind of like fell down, where I totally could see how devastated. And
you didn't realize until then?
Well, but then there's other things you tell yourself to kind of sort of compartmentalize, or I guess.
Yeah, pop off, King. Give us absolutely nothing. I feel like I'm watching a performance from Hilary Duff in 2004, because King is not giving us anything at all. Saying that you think you can get away with something and you're justifying getting away with something doesn't explain why you did it in the first place. That's like saying you murdered someone and then being like, well, I thought that hiding the body wouldn't be such a bad crime. Like, what are you talking about? Ned is the type of person that you don't want to go to therapy, because the thought of anyone like telling him that he's anything but the villain irks the out of me. Like, Ned, you're not a Holocaust survivor. You went band kid mode on your employee publicly for all your fans to see for months. Now, in my opinion, the saddest part of the whole entire podcast is them talking about the downfall of their relationship. The first time I saw this segment, it genuinely made me cry a little bit, okay? It's really sad. Ariel talks about how the saddest part of the whole thing, the part that she lost the most, is now she has to look at their happy life before the scandal as a fantasy.
I discovered the affair. It feels like going back to this weird fantasy world. I don't know, I thought we had this love that like transcended, I trusted you so completely. And I mean, we grew up together. We got married when when we were like in our early 20s.
Yeah.
We were babies. And we moved out to LA with just our car full of stuff. It really was a fantasy. And I just think, how could you do that to me? Like, we had so much. There was so much.
And then after Ariel says all of that, Ned talks about how, yes, the fantasy for him was also slipping away. And that's the reason why he cheated.
What happened?
The dream started to break apart for me, and then rather than being able to talk about it or to confront those feelings, I chose to deal with it and deal with like feelings that I was experiencing in a way that was really self-destructive and hurtful to you.
Now this part pissed me the off. I'm sorry, can someone please explain to me how Ned having an affair with an employee that led to the destruction of his family, his wife, and all of the people in his company, can you explain to me how that's him being self-destructive? Also, the way he says it, I was being self-destructive and it caused you guys to feel pain. Like, he's acting like he did one little itty bitty thing and then that cascaded into something bigger. When in reality, he was the direct cause of the cascade. Also, later in the podcast, he finally admits that the only reason why he played the wife guy character is simply because it got him a lot of engagement and clicks.
And I guess I noticed that in my own work. It's like the things that consistently drew people in were adorable family posts or talking about my wife, and then producers lean into that and like craft situations for me.
Like, imagine being so boring and uninteresting that literally for over a decade, the only thing you stick to is that you have a wife. I don't know, did he not have any dancing skills, cooking, roasting crusty men on YouTube? You know, he could have maybe learned to play the violin and have strippers twerk in the background like that one dude. He literally just capped out at, I'm the wife guy, done. I don't really care to explore any other part of my personality. Now, if you were planning on watching this podcast and you thought that you were going to get any accountability from Ned, you would be incorrect. The whole podcast was supposed to be an apology to his viewers and to Ariel, and to be able to set the record straight and move on from this by like just putting it all on the table so we can move on together. And the reason why this podcast did not successfully do that is because Ned does not know how to take accountability. Because throughout the whole podcast, he does one of two things, all right? Undermining what he did and distancing himself from what he did. Exhibit number 1, there's a part where Ariel talks about when Ned finally told her about the affair. He felt relieved, but she now has all that shame and guilt.
Not only did you having an affair just, it shattered our marriage, but it also, like, all of that guilt and shame, you like hoisted that on me. And now I have to carry that around for the rest of my life.
And this is dead ass what Ned has to say.
I don't think it's fair that as a society you're put in that position. It's certainly not true.
I'm sorry that society put this onto you. That was so performative that like Claro started playing. I could taste the matcha in my mouth. My luteal phase started at that moment. Ned should come out with a tote bag merch that says, I'm sorry society put this on you, and it's a picture of a bloody tampon. Society was not the person that went Animal Planet mode on your producer at a restaurant. Again, in front of fans. Again, that was you. You did those things. There's also another part where Ariel talks about how there was a time where she couldn't trust anybody. She didn't know who was in on it, who wasn't in on it. There's paparazzi everywhere.
I sort of went into this like this weird state where like nothing was safe and nothing and nobody, like I couldn't trust anybody.
And again, This is how Ned responds. I cannot make this shit up.
That was really strange.
I can see how that caused you to really feel unsafe and mistrusting of the whole world.
I can see how this would make you mistrusting to the world. He's acting like he's not the cheater, but he's just some random friend that's giving Ariel some anecdotes at a book club. He's acting like he's the ghost of Christmas past, empathizing with Ariel's past sins. Like, no, you did this, sir. And then there's a part where Ariel talks about how it's been healing for her to make friends that don't care about the scandal.
You know, I mentioned making those authentic relationships, like finding those real friends.
Oh.
And they're like, I don't care that your life is messy. I really like you for who you are.
And then again, this is how Ned responds.
You know, internet and people making TikToks seem to care so much. And then you meet anyone in real life and it's like everyone has some way to relate to some sort of a cheating story. There's a bunch of different types of families and parents, and some people are together, some people aren't. And I'm sure every marriage or relationship has a story as to how it breaks down.
Everyone has a cheating story. Everybody has a marriage breakdown. Everybody can. No, they can't, Ned. No, they can't. That's literally like murdering someone and being like, well, everybody has felt the loss of a loved one. Like, that doesn't mean that you didn't murder somebody. Ned is the type of like Russian folktale that your babushka tells you about to keep you from being a huge in high school. Now, I know by this point, a lot of you guys might be saying like, well, what did I expect Ned to say? What is the hallmark of a good apology, of actually taking accountability? I imagine he would say something along the lines of like, I cheated on my wife with an employee. I deserve to be canceled because what I did was grossly negligent and horrific. I wrecked the lives of so many people. And I understand that there is not a single thing I could possibly do to make that better. But in the past 3 years, I have worked on me being a piece of shit. I've gone through therapy. I've done X, Y, and Z to support my wife and my friends and my family. And I am working on living the rest of my life as a better person, but I am still on that journey and I am still kind of a piece of shit. Do you guys see how a proper apology means that you accept the full scale of what you did and not try to minimize it? For anyone that has someone in their life that you're like, man, their apology kind of seems like ass, but I can't really put my finger on it because they did technically apologize. Think about what they said and if they actually took accountability. Anyways, the podcast ends with Ned saying that he's going to continue to do this podcast, and Ariel says that she will never probably return to social media ever again for her own personal reasons, which I 100% respect. It's honestly so refreshing to see someone who is so intelligent and mature enough to have this conversation and has shown that she has grown so much from this whole scandal, and I am truly so proud of her. As for Ned, I hope he gets sucked in a pyramid scheme and a crypto scheme. I hope that he gets hemorrhoids and he's stuck in a 16-year-long situationship. Do what you will with that information. Anyways, with that said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know your feelings in the comment section down below, and I will see you at your next lunch break. Bye.